This week in Ken's Tech Lab, we're going to take the MK4 and turn it into an MK4 Plus. Let's do this upgrade together with Ken's Tech Lab. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Like I said in the introduction, we're going to do an upgrade. This is the MK4 that I did a video on building it from the parts build. And I want to take this and make it into the brand new PRUSA MK4 Plus. So what I did, and this is the cheapest way to do this upgrade if you already have an MK4, is to purchase what they call the upgrade kit. So before I did anything, I wanted to make sure that the MK4 still printed as good as it did when we got finished with the build. That's pretty well the last print that I did on this printer. So today and yesterday I printed out a bunch of things on the printer. I used a really good spool of multicolor filament, and this scraper came out just beautiful. It's like really good. And then the last thing I printed, and I did this before I left today, is I actually printed the PACA, okay, the PRUSA PACA, right here. But I did this with a really cheap, actually so cheap that it was free, filament that came with one of the new printers that I did. It came with a small roll of white. And this one has a lot of stringing on it, but I'm not going to blame that on the PRUSA. I'm going to blame that on the filament, whether it's maybe a little wet or just a very poor quality, because I don't know where this filament came from. As far as the PACA is concerned, it came out really good. And just wanted to make sure that the printer was going to do everything before we take it back apart to do the upgrade. So let's move this printer right now out of the way for a few minutes, and let's see what we have in the box. So I'll move that over there. Take the PACA and the scraper, move it over. All right. So I did open the box to see what was in it, but I haven't opened the interior boxes with the parts in it. So the only thing I was able to see is the habanero little gummies that you get. And PRUSA does this with every single one of their products. Depending on the product is what size bag of gummies you get. So if you watch the other videos of me building the MK4 and the MK3 Plus, they both came with habanero. One thing about the big printer, the Max printer, comes with a big bag of these gummies. So you get a brand new 3D printing handbook, which comes with every single printer that you purchase from them. And this little paper from PRUSA. And this paper, mostly because they're not actually including the instructions to do the upgrade, but all the instructions, even for the MK4 build here, was done with a computer showing us what needed to be done. So it says, from PRUSA Research, thank you for purchasing the upgrade to the original PRUSA MK4S. Your support allows us to invest in further development of open source 3D printers and other 3D printing innovations, including the PRUSA Slicer software, our high quality PRUSA Mint materials, and the printables.com community. So very good. It also has the 2 QR codes to be able to get the assembly instructions for your printer, because this will also upgrade the MK3.9S, which was the last MK3. On the back of this is all the screws that you use in the printer, and there's they're real sizing, so you know what screws are what. And a lot of us take those screws and dump them all into one box, and you'll never know. All right, so what else do we have in the box that's outside of the parts box? We have a brand new front screen case that changes the MK4 to MK4S. So they've started, instead of printing this themselves, these are actually molded now. They're purchased. I don't know if they have a molding machine at PRUSA Research, or they're in this third party. But this is going to be for the with the new name on it, mostly. They also give you, and this is kind of weird, is they're giving you a new serial number for your printer. So this one is for the MK4S. So it upgrades your current serial number to a new one. Maybe this starts the warranty period over, or lets them know at PRUSA that you have an MK4S now, and that warranty is what they go by. Yes, it is coming. All right. Don't need that box anymore. This is a very light box. Just says PRUSA on the front of it, for PRUSA Research. Inside of here, you get paper, and more paper. Need that here. And of course, like the normal baggies that you're going to get, and you have all the fasteners. And we'll be looking at this a lot closer when we start this build. Now, I don't know how they've changed the internals of a lot of this, but the parts are to rechange the gearing and stuff. And they even give you the tool to take the gear back out, which is that tool right there. Kind of weird. This is the extruder, one of two. So it's like you're going to get a new extruder, but I don't think you're actually replacing the metal parts of that extruder. Electronics package, or electronics printed parts, and they're giving you the printer already comes with Wi-Fi, and you have a little cap over the back of the where the Wi-Fi is mounted right here, but they're giving you a new Wi-Fi module for this. Hopefully it does 6 instead of just the lower speeds. This one is for the Y carriage, and these two pieces are going to be for the new Y carriage, how you can tighten the belt. So they've upgraded that part of the printer. An extruder 2 of 2, and it's just all plastic parts again. Like I said, I don't think the extruder itself is being replaced. And this is the new fan shroud, which is the biggest, I think, well, one of the biggest changes of this version, the S, is where they place the new high fan, airflow fan. It's supposed to do a lot better at cooling parts. All right. Here's the extruder and electronics parts upgrade for the MKS, and it is sealed. Here's our thing, open it up, and we have the new board. I believe this is, yeah, this has got to be the new Wi-Fi board. And let's just, and we'll look at this, like I said, closer once we get putting this together. We have a sock, a brand new extruder sock that comes with this one. An NFC set. This is NFC with the fan. It's actually connected together. Tape got it. So there's the new high output cooling fan. And the NFC set right here. What else do we have? Here is their new extruder nozzle. This is a 0.4. Comes with it. This is the replacement that we'll be using. And since you're having to replace the, where is that part? Since you're going to be replacing the cover for your front display, and underneath on the front display is your lights that show you the if it's finished printing or it's printing or what kind of state it's in. They always have the little reflector that went on it. So since you have to replace that, it needs a new reflector, and that comes in the box also. All right. So that's everything that comes with this. We're going to go to the bench and we're going to put this together. And it's going to feel good to be back on the bench again and building another printer. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. And welcome to the bench at Ken's Tech Lab. And this is the MK4 that we built from a box of parts. This kit, I think, if you want to know your printer, buy the kit. And the kit, once you put it all together, you'll know what every wire does and every piece of it, what it's for. So I really highly recommend it. I know the kit is a little expensive from PRUSA Research, but if you can get it, get it. All right. We have, up on my computer here, I have the instructions for this upgrade, right? And it's going to require a lot of tools and basically we're going to be tearing some of this printer apart and then putting it back together again. Some parts of this I don't look forward to, as it was really difficult, even when it was apart, to get some of this stuff in. So I'm sure we're going to have some trying times here. The instructions, which normally when I do this, I'll put whatever point that I'm at the instructions on the screen. To let you guys see what I'm seeing when I do a step, so you can follow along if you're doing the same thing that I'm doing, whether it be now or sometime in the future. So of all the things that they say, it's just how to do a lot of things like electronic position, like don't touch the electronics with your fingers, view the high resolution images, how to put the nuts in, if you get lost, how to go get help, and PRUSA will be there to help you through if you have any issues. And I got down to step 12, which is prepare your desk. Well, I think the bench is pretty well prepared. We have the printer, we have all the parts. The parts are on that side, and my computer is, you see some of it in the screen on that side. There's going to be spare parts after we're done, and they says, you know, keep them for some other projects that you're going to work on. or throw them away or whatever you want to do, because they're not going to be needed for this printer anymore. All right. Some things that I've done prior to coming back on this video, I didn't want to have you guys stand around, and that's cleaning the hot end. On step 14, it asks you to clean the nozzle. This should be, yeah, it's nice and cool now. So clean the nozzle. I heated the nozzle up to about 250, and I took the wire brush and cleaned it. There was no sock prior to that on this hot end, so I had nothing to actually remove there. And then after it was done, I started the cooling process, which this new printer, the MK4, if you have an MK3, the MK4 has what they call a cooling mode, which will run the fans until the hot end is cooled back down to a touchable kind of, Fahrenheit or Celsius. Okay. There's 3 parts to that, and then there shows you where to do the cooling. I did that. They also teach you how to, the best part of this thing is when to eat your gummy bears and how many to eat during each section of this build. And we did that on the other build too. Open up the gummy bears, and they show you a dish with all the gummy bears and how many you're allowed to have. Very important. If you don't reward yourself, then what's the sense of doing it? All right. Preparing the printer, as we went over, lower the printer down about halfway, which I've got it pretty well down there. I might need to go down, let me get both of these down at the same time. Okay. Down a little bit more. Okay. Lower it halfway. Take the spool holder off, which I already have. The spool holder is gone. Unload the filament, which I had to get rid of the filament, right? Move the x-axis to the center, which we did. Turn the printer off and remove the USB, which I did. And also unplug it, which I did. That's the parts that I didn't want to waste you guys seeing that, because you know how to remove your filament. It's telling you also the MMU3 instructions how to remove it, since we won't be using that. There's no upgrade to the MMU3 during this upgrade process. And that's the end of that. And now we're going into the upgrade. This is the second page, upgrading the y-axis. This is the part that I'm really not looking forward to. The difficulty is moderate, depending on how easy Slack lets you put these parts back in on the rubber here. So let's see. It says in this chapter you will upgrade the old y-axis belt tensioning mechanism with the new parts printed from PCCF material. Okay, that's their new material. Matter of fact, it's got a different look than the old stuff did. It's more of a lighter gray. That's because it's CF. So everything that PRUSA ever prints on these plastic parts here, over on here, is PETG. And PETG is great, it's strong, but I think they maybe wanted to make a couple parts stronger. So what they did was they printed the same parts, but they printed it in this new, what they call it, PCCF. It says if you're some of the newer printers, the newer MK4s have these already. I don't think this one does, as I purchased this MK4 pretty much when it came out, available for purchase. So this is probably one of the first ones off the line. It says the latest MK4 units might already include the Y-axis parts upgraded to the PCCF. If your printer has these, you can skip this chapter. Well, the only way we're going to find out is turning the printer upside down and looking at them. And you can always tell because, well, they're here and here, and they're shiny. And shiny is not the same as dull, so we're going to be replacing these. There we go. So, I'll let you know that we're going to be doing that, and that is the first step. It says to verify, take a closer look at the underside of the Y carriage and inspect the parts. Okay. New Y-axis parts PCCF has a dull, slightly grayish tint, which they do. They're not shiny like the PETG parts, right? These must be much stronger. I wonder if they had any snapping of those parts. The old is glossy black. Yes, that's what's actually on there right now. Okay. So the tools necessary, we're going to need a 2.5 millimeter. Looks like that's it to make this change. So let's get that. I'm going to get these parts together, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. And since I have to face everything my way to be able to actually do this modifications, I decided to get the second camera going so you can have a closer look. So this is the back portion of the heat bed, and right now we're going to be working on this right here and replacing both of these. So let me see if I can get that closer. Right here. So we have, they're underneath right here and here. Okay, both of those are, I wouldn't say they're the right parts, but in the wrong filament. So we need to fix them. So the first thing we need to do, it wants us to do, is turn it over, which I did. Take a look at the Y-axis and make sure that they are located in the white belt tensioner. From the front side of the Y belt tensioner, completely remove the M340 screw. Okay, that is the actual tensioner screw, and it wants us to remove that. So we need to find the right Allen wrench and get in there, whether it be this one or this one. There it is. And what we're going to do is completely remove this screw. So that's what we're going to do. And what this does is it's going to loosen this band back up again on the belt. There we go. I believe it's already loose. It's just not going to come out of there because it is tight. All right. So they want me to actually start removing. So since I've taken the tension away from it, and we're going to be removing both of these. So the first thing we're going to do, and it should be probably the same screw. Yep. So we're going to undo this. You guys see that? Right here. And that's definitely going to take it off. There we go. That is off of there. And there's the tensioner screw. So there, the screw that tensions goes all the way through to the other one. And then that's the screw we actually had for that. I can take the belt off of here now because we're going to be replacing this. There we go. So as you can see, this is a very shiny material, Apache, and we're going to be replacing it with a very dull, because CF is always dull. Looks a nice part. So they made a lot of changes there, it looks like. So this make sure you don't lose the pin from the pulley. So what's going to happen is the pulley up here has a pin going through it, and if this comes off, that pin, you would lose the pin. So we don't want to lose the pin, but we do have to take away both sides of this and take it out. So we need to unscrew the other one. And since it's nice and loose, actually loosen up this and pull it to the side, or even up. As you see, it just came right off of the motor also. There we go. Now we can get to the screw. This part right here, putting it together, was not easy, at least for me. I believe one time I put them in, not backwards, but the wrong way. There we go, that's out. Alright, we have nothing on the Y carriage. And there's the screw. You also have a screw right here that's holding the tension on, so this doesn't just pop out, right? Now this little series right here will probably be in a couple parts. I don't think I'm going to do this all this entire upgrade into one time, because as I was doing the main the main build of this, you know, sitting in for 2 or 3 or 4 hours for a video is kind of long. So what I'm going to do is break this into chunks that is, you know, good for both of us, where I'm not at the bench building this for 4 hours straight. Again, you're not sitting there watching it for 4 hours straight. So the only thing I'm doing now, if I can get this pulled up, is taking the screw, and this was the tension to make sure that the pulley couldn't pull out of the plastic. So I'm having to hold this so it stays in the screw, and just pulling it out. See, it's just coming out like that. And there, we have all the screws out. These pieces are done. They're going to be in the refit bucket for spare parts. Now, don't forget, all these parts that you see, all the printed parts, can be reprinted. PRUSA lets you download the STLs for all these. So just a thing. I think they're missing one other piece that should have been out of there, and that's going to be the square nut, I believe. Or it's going to either be a square nut or it was straight into plastic, but I don't think so. It might have been. Because I don't see a square nut in here in either one of these pieces. What I see is it's gone straight into plastic. So, don't need those. Alright, both of those parts are gone out. Now it wants you to release and remove the M310 screw mounting the Y belt holder. Release and remove the MT screw from the Y belt holder and remove the belt from the part, which we did. Release and remove the M310 screw from the Y belt tensioner and remove the belt from the part. And that's both sides. Alright, keep the Y belt for the upgrade. Yes, don't throw away the Y belt because they don't give you one in the new portion. Alright, back to this. The new Y belt mounting part preparation. Here's where they want you to do something. Alright, so we have both parts here. And let me move this over a little. Okay. Sorry, this camera, I really don't have a monitor on, so I can't see what you're seeing unless I stretch around and see. Alright, so we have both of these parts here that we're replacing, and the orientation is very important. And one of them is going to be orientated with this coming out here, and one of them coming out the other way. So they're pointing away from each other. There we go. So one of them has, on the right hand side, which I have, has the, let's see if you can see this, yes. These parts, one of them has a slit, round slit, which they're pointing out on the instructions, as you see there. And a round hole, and that's going to be where the screw goes back in. The other side doesn't have the slit, except on the side it has a place for a hexagon nut, 6-inch nut. Okay. So now we have these in the right orientation. We have the belt, of course, and might as well take it all the way out now since we can actually see, since this has been in use, it's done a few prints already. Any wear on the belt, right? Either way, except for where they actually connect into those ends right there. Okay. All right. I wouldn't be clipping any more of the belt off, as we clipped it when we cut this belt to fit when we first put this together. So it's actually showing us sort of like back in the day, or when we first built this, it's showing you the parts. It's like if they were brand new out of a bag. It's showing you the 4 M3x10s, right? It's showing you the one, I think that's a GT2, no, it's a pulley. M3x40, that's what this is right here, M3x40. You have a M3N nut ×1. Now, that's new to this build. So that's going to be up in our bag of screws. There's all our different packages of screws. The main bag actually gives you all the smaller packages, what's in there. And then you have them broken into the smaller packages. And just like the only gripe I have about these packages, yes, they're split up into what they're for. And even that they include a spare. Let's see if you can see this. But you can't reseal them. So they come with a spare, but they don't have a way to reseal the bag. The MK3 Plus that I put together, all of them were resealable plastic bags. All right, these are plastic screws, until that. So we need one M3N nut. So this is 3 pieces, 1 spare. So we're going to open up this one piece. And we try to leave everything in their original bags as the actual name is on them of what they are, because sometimes you have screws and nuts that are just a hair different. All right. So we have the screws. It wants me to, make sure that you have the what is it called? The belt. It wants to make sure that I have the belt and the pulley. But I left the pulley up there. It didn't come out. I don't want it to come out. Okay. So on here, as we have these back in the same orientation, on the side of here, it has the cutout for that nut, which this is a locking nut. And what it wants you to do is put in or through the M1040 or M10 M3x40, sorry. Put it on, and then you can bring it down like that. Pull it in. A lot of times these are tough to get in, but this one looks like it's real easy to get it in. So what they want you to do is push this in and then take this back out so it's already in there. So it's supposed to stay in, and normally it's tight, but this one is not. Alright, let's assemble it. Let's get rid of the rest of these screws that we're not going to be using right now. And get them over and out. So it looks like the orientation is supposed to be like that. And it's showing it like that. And to put the screw into the part. Sometimes easier said than done. Okay, sort of like that. And this is the one where the nut's on the inside of there, so we can hold it in. Okay. At the same time that you've done all this, it wants you to take and the little teeth that are in here. So what it wants you to do, let's see where that screw hole is going to be. Could be right there. I want you to put this in with the teeth pointing the direction that they're showing you on there, and then put it around. This one slides in a lot easier than the original, I can tell you that. Wow. And then if you remember on the other one, I took out the M3x10 out of here that actually tightens that grip on that. So we're going to do that too. And the only thing that does is takes the plastic and pushes the plastic out further. So it closes those teeth in on the belt. Now these are tighter going in, that's good. Like I said, you get the parts, download the STLs for all these parts. So if you want to upgrade, let's say this, and buy your own CF, even from PRUSA, you can do that. All right, make sure that it's below, where it's nice and smooth here, it's not sticking up. And then that belt should be tight as can be. All right, what's next? So it says use the left rear hole to put this in. So that would be, would have to be like this. Where the screw is going to come in and push those two or bring them together. Okay. So let's get the screw on there, on the Allen wrench on there first. Okay. So what we're doing now is tightening this one. As you see, the nut wants to pop out, but what this is going to do is sit like this. Okay, and it's tight. Okay, that ain't moving. All right, so it wants to go down. Now you put this underneath where you came out. Because all of it's got to be down underneath here. All right. Take it, put it underneath the pulley or the motor. Right, like that. And then it's going to actually come back. See, they got it that way. And then they have the other one. So what it's going to do is come back across here. Go up on and over the pulley. And this is where it's easier to pull out this part right here. So you have the axle and you have the pulley right here. You can pull that completely out and not worry about it right now, because eventually we're going to go up, around, and in there. Okay. So the orientation is the biggest deal here, because the screw is going to go through, and it's going to go through, and it's going to come back. And we need to make sure that everything is in the right orientation. Okay. So if this gets screwed in, like here, right, this will come up and go over here. So the only thing we need to do now is take an M3x10. I haven't lost them. All right, so let's put the other M3x10, and the same as the other one is what we did was put it into this hole and put it in here so it locks the pulley back, or not the pulley, but the thing back in. So, right, that's almost down. Remember, you want it to be below the plastic and where you don't have any of the head sticking out. So at least when it's flush, it's good. All right. So this is a little bit harder part where the band is going to be under here, and it's going to be hard for you to get the screw at the same time getting this to go in here. So, and right now, as you see, this gets in the way. This is why your orientation has got to be good. So check that out before you put the screw in, because you're going to have the band is not, or the band is not going to be in its orientation to show you that you're correct. Okay. So this one doesn't have to be tight right now. It needs to be able to slide back and forth. Just make it tight enough. Okay. But not too loose. But it's got to be able to slide. Good. All right. Now to put it all together, this part that I really didn't want to take off, but I had to, is going to go back up. And let's see if I can get that in focus here. Right here. So what we're going to do is we want the band to be like this. So the belt has to go up past where it needs to and then drop back down, right? Which puts...
Ah.
Hi, this is Ken from the future. I'm actually recording this right now while I'm doing the edit of this show to say that during this part, I was trying to put the pulley on after screwing down the one piece, and I couldn't watch this again with me struggling to get that pulley over the little hinge that it goes onto for another 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to cut that entire thing out, and once I realized the mistake that I made and didn't put the pulley in first, which gets slack because it's got to go up and into a groove, then I was able to get it screwed down. So back to the live, but we're going to take it up to the point where I figure this out. Back to you, Ken. Here's my plan of attack. So if you take this off, right, and then you put this on, that might actually work, actually better. I don't know what I was thinking. Put that on. It's going to drop in this little hole. Yeah, that's better. All right. So, as I believe the instructions said, take the pulley up there, put that in first, let it drop down, which is going to drop down about 1/8 of an inch. Then deal with the screw here, which is going to be hard to get to as the pulley okay, here we go. That worked a lot better.
Yay!
All right. That's in. Now, that's one page, 2, and then 3. Okay, that, and then put in the other screw. All right, so this is going to be the M3x40, which is going to go straight down through the hole here on the top. Okay. Make sure it's lined up with the other one, because it's going to go all the way through. And what that's going to do is allow it to pull them together. But again, make sure that it's tight. So what I'm going to do is loosen this, make sure it's loose. Right. Loosen the screw up just a hair more, pull it all the way up. And then what we're going to do is tighten it down where it's going to put it straight. Okay. Now that should be straight onto the other part, and you should be able to now screw this in. So the little nut on the bottom is not going all the way up to where the screw is because it was loose. Ah, see, it fell right out. All right, so this took some time and to get the belt back on there, and the tension screw right there had to go through to that nut that we put up in here, but that nut was sliding down because it's loose in there, not loose enough that it wouldn't hold as far as you know, putting the screw into it. But what I had to do is take this, hold it up at the same time that I was tightening this. So that took a little bit of challenge there. So note, if you run into this problem and you run into the same thing, then you know. Okay? When you know, you know. All right. The next thing is going to be tensioning the Y belt, right? Again, since this thing was it was already cut for the other piece, and I think this piece is just a hair different. I think that the tensioning. Let's see if we can loosen it up from here. Okay, so we're going to loosen this up now. Okay. And we want to make sure that it's nice. It can slide back and forth. So we're going to take that, make sure that it's slid. Okay. And I'm actually going to turn it, with the camera, back up on its top. Okay. It's good. You can feel the motor in there. But it's still nice and smooth. You can just feel the bushings trying to stop it. Alright, we're going to go with that. Let me tighten that back down again. Alright, that should have been the hardest part. So that is steps 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8, 7, and starts at 6. So, but on the original build, that was the hardest part of the build, I think. Even the wire management, I don't think was even as hard as that. All right, what's next? So they like this belt tensioning check, which this is step 13. Go to this QR code. So we'll go to the QR code. Belt tensioning, and ask you MK4, MK4S. Tap to enable microphone, allow, and this is the X or Y belt tensioning for your printer. This is going to be for the Y belt, so, or Y axis. So click that and let it listen. It's supposed to be at 82 Hertz. And so you're supposed to fine tune the belt, but it's kind of hard when you have no more. Okay, I'm at 101 Hertz, which is pretty good, I think, from the 82. It's still in the green, but it's the high green, tight. So we'll let it go from there. All right, so what's next on our list? What's left tells you what should be left, and what should be left is both of the ones that we pulled. All right, it is gummy time. Yep, it's gummy time. This chapter really is simple. This chapter was simple. Yeah, right. So we're allowed to eat one gummy. That is because they were stingy and only gave us like 10. Oh, and did I mention that this doesn't come with any tools? So this upgrade, just make sure that you have all the tools that you had when you first put it together. All right. The next chapter is going to be upgrading the LCD. And since this chapter was so easy that it took so long, we'll do that on our next video. So thank you everybody for joining us this week, and we'll continue this on our next show. It'll be episode 2 of the PRUSA MK4 upgrade to MK4S. This is Ken with Ken's Tech Lab. Stay awesome.